The views and opinions expressed on the show by the host and doctor experts do not reflect the views of Johnson & Johnson or its management. Viewer discretion is advised.
Eusebio. She has over 27 years of expertise. She is a developmental and behavioral pediatrician, and she is also the president of the Philippine Pediatric Society and the chairman of UERM Department of Pediatrics. Let us all welcome Dr. Joselyn Eusebio. Hi, Doc Josie.
Hi, Kats. Magandang hapon at good afternoon po sa lahat ng mga tagapakinig at viewers ng programang ito. Maraming salamat sa opportunity to share with you what you need to know as far as protecting the mental health of your children and enhancing their development during this quarantine period and the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doc. You know, here at Johnson School of Gentle, we really do invite the experts to ease the worries of the moms out there kasi ang daming moms ang very, very anxious. Hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin because it's not so easy or it's not as easy to be able to talk to their pediatrician. So we are really, really grateful for you to be here today.
Thank you too for having me.
Now, of course, like I said, you know, with this global pandemic that is happening, mommies, daddies who are tuned in, we understand if there's anxiety, if there is, you know, confusion as to what are you supposed to do at this time of the pandemic. Together with Johnson & Johnson's, we're here to help you on how to protect the mental health of your kids and ensure their growth development. Gaano nga ba ka-importante for parents to spend time with their kids and bond with them during this time? Now, this School of Gentle Facebook session is brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. And to start, we have gathered questions from mommies, from all of you, to ask Doc Josie, of course. Tapos sasagutin niya lahat as much as she can. And then afterwards, we do have time for a live Q&A with Doc Josie. So if you have your own questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to comment on the Facebook or to this Facebook video and share this video as well to your family members na sa tingin nyo makakatulong ang mga information na meron tayo today. Okay, Doc Josie, let's begin.
Yes.
Okay, so our first question, Doc, is, you know, with this pandemic that's going on, even as adults, even as us, as parents as well, it's very confusing. It's very unbelievable what is happening around us. So what more for our children? We can start from a very important question from moms today. How should I explain to my kids what's been happening lately in terms of the lockdown and the current COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah. First of all, parents should be guided, no, kung paano nila ipapaliwanag kung anong nangyayari sa mga anak nila sa ngayon. So, we have to find out first, ano ba ang nalalaman na ng anak ko? No? And when you talk to your children, dapat kalma ka lang. Kasi di ba anxious na sila eh. At saka meron na silang mga fears. So, dapat ikaw maunang maging kalma and then you have to be truthful and honest to them. And you can start by asking them, anak, ano ba yung naririnig mo? Meron ka bang nararamdaman na takot, pangamba? And then, kung wala naman siyang masyadong tinatanong, parang gawin mong lead yung bata na siya na yung magsabi, magtanong, kesa ikaw yung tanong ng tanong dun sa anak mo. Baka lalo lang siyang malito at mangamba.
That's so true, Doc. For it's so important to be honest with your kids also, even if it's not very great news that is happening around us. And yung pangunahan mo, wag mo na lang pangunahan yung anak mo kasi baka mas malalo siyang magulo talaga. That's very, very true, Doc. So, Doc, our next question naman, it has to do with anxiety with children. So how can we help our kids overcome stress and anxiety during this COVID-19 pandemic? And is it good to tell them facts about COVID-19 at their young age, or is this bad for their mental health?
Katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, importante na malaman ng mga bata kung ano talaga yung nangyayari. Kahit nga hindi natin sabihin, napapanood nila, napapakinggan nila. So we have to really be honest, truthful, and tell them what they need to know. Pero sa pamamaraan na maiintindihan nila. There's such a thing as developmentally age-appropriate telling of facts. No? So, iba yung pagsabi mo sa isang batang 2 years old versus a teenager or an older child. Pero ang pinaka-importante talaga sa lahat is yung reassurance ng bata na nandyan ka as a parent to protect him, to keep him safe, and that your love and care will be more than what he has ever experienced. Kasi kailangan niya talaga yon at this point.
That's so true, Doc. And even if it's so difficult sometimes to feel good and happy during this time, parang siguro that conversation that they have with their children could be the light that could happen in the day.
Yes, and you always have to imagine na parang pasahero mo yung mga anak mo, ikaw yung driver, and therefore you have to ensure the safety of your passengers.
I like that. Yeah, very true. So, Doc, we have questions naman po because, this is a new normal that's going on right now. So the next question is about being at home with their children. The next question is, the new normal is becoming very hard for my kids. They are getting used to mommy and daddy being with them 24/7, but still cannot play with them because we are working. I'm worried if this will have a bad effect on my child or in them in the long run. And how do I handle this?
Yeah, dito na pumapasok yung tinatawag na time management ng parents. It is understandable that there are some parents who really still are working at home. But I think the most important is that you have to schedule everything, magbigay ka ng routines for your child, and then kung mag-asawa kayong nandyan, you take turns. And what is more important is to provide quality time. No? Kasi kahit na 20 minutos lang yan, pero naibigay mo lahat ng atensyon at yung tamang pamamaraan ng pagtuturo or paglalaro or whatever activities that you wanna teach your child, I think that's the best.
Yeah, Doc, it's very important to still na meron pa ring time that the kids will look forward to. So at least 20 minutes. And bonding and playtime among parents and their kids, it's really something that is very, very important. And really something that's been an advocacy of Johnson's. They even have a yearly campaign called Play Days. It brings to light the importance of playing and the role of children's learning, as well as how it helps in your child's development. So as Doc Josie said, kahit 20 minutes lang yan, basta set aside yung buong 20 minutes na yon para sa mga bata, it's going to be considered quality time and bonding with them already.
Right.
Okay, so Doc, the next question is, how should I calm my kids down whenever they have tantrums because they want to go outside?
It is but normal, really, for these children now to be having tantrums, no? Kasi unang-una, hindi na sila makalabas, hindi na sila makapaglaro sa ibang bata, hindi na nila magawa yung dati. So, kailangan natin maintindihan yon. So, ano dapat ang gagawin ng parent? Keep the child busy also with activities that are fun-filled, learning na, masaya pa sila, nag-enjoy sila, and then interaction with family members through play. And then, yung katulad ng sinabi kanina, bonding moments talaga. Okay, now, if there are behaviors na katulad ng tantrums, no, at medyo difficult to manage, we still have to go back kung paano ba dapat i-manage ang tantrum. Most of the time, ang sinasabi natin, you identify ano ba yung cause ng tantrum. Definitely, it's the pandemic, no? Na hindi sila makalabas. Number 2, ano ba dapat ang gagawin natin? I-distract mo siya, engage mo siya. Kung hindi pa rin, there's such a thing as a reward system na sasabihan mo siya ng ruling na pag ikaw ay hindi nag-tantrums the whole day, meron kang prize at the end of the day. O di kaya naman, sasabihin mo sa kanya, there's such a thing as time out. Di ba? So, ilalagay mo siya sa isang corner dahil ito ang ginawa mong misbehavior, meron tayong time out, you have to count ilang minutes dyan bago meron tayong gagawin ulit. Okay? So, yon.
That's true. And Doc, super helpful kasi there really are different activities that maybe the parents can do throughout this quarantine. I mean, I'm sure, Doc, di sila sanay na talagang all the hours of the day they have to keep their children busy. So it's still very important, something that we all have to really be concerned about, is to keep the children busy so at least the tantrums would maybe lessen.
Minimum.
Now, Doc, a lot of moms naman have raised some concerns na may mga sudden changes, dahil sa sudden change ng environment rather, may mga sudden changes rin in their kids, what's going on. So, the question naman po is, since the ECQ started, I've noticed my kids become easily irritated and more makulit than usual. Is this because of the sudden isolation at home? And how can we cope?
Yeah. Well, as I've mentioned already, talagang marami silang mga misbehaviors right now dahil nga masyado na silang bored sa loob ng bahay, no? So, and besides, it can also be due to attention-getting behaviors na, no? Na parang, kasi naman, mami, nandito ka na sa bahay, busy-busy ka pa rin wala kang panahon para sa akin. So, pwedeng attention-getting dahil sa boredom. So, the best thing pa rin is to engage them. And so, it always goes back to what I have been saying na there should be time for learning, for play, for bonding, for the usual routines na dapat na itinuturo natin sa mga anak natin. Pagising mo sa umaga, ano ba dapat gagawin mo, and then kakain, snacks, and make sure na
This meeting is being recorded.
And make sure na bigyan mo rin siya ng time na mag-tinker sa gadgets, mag-watch ng TV. Diba? Hindi po pwedeng hindi. No? Basta, minomonitor yan ng parents.
This is really the time, Doc, for a lot of parents na maging sobrang creative when it comes to distract. When it comes to distracting their children. Maraming lalabas na iba-ibang mga strategies for sure online nito. So may follow-up question tayo, Doc, with that. What are the other possibly seemingly harmless behaviors in kids, or that means they might need extra attention at this time?
Number 1, if the temper tantrums are very frequent and uncontrollable. Number 2, if they are already exhibiting aggression, self-injured behaviors, they're having poor appetite, insomnia, and irritability. Alam mo, sa mga bata, ang sign ng depression is irritability more than being sulky. Instead na nagpupulong, hindi. Sobrang irritable. Parang isang tanong mo lang sa kanya, isang utos mo lang sa kanya, parang galit na siya. So, irritable yon. So, there must be something in him na is bothering him.
That's such something specific to look forward to talaga, Doc. You have to monitor talaga that kind of attitude with the children, because I feel that sometimes we can't even voice it out as kids how we really feel, no, Doc?
Actually, most of the time, like in smaller children, they do not voice it out. They act it out. Yeah.
That's where the tantrums come from.
Yes.
Okay, well, the tantrums are the one things that the parents really should be looking after or looking at right now. And we have another question naman po, Doc, about having a sense of normalcy right now. So how do I give my kids a sense of normalcy in this current situation?
Number 1, you have to have a structure. in the day-to-day activities of the child. And I have already mentioned that you have to keep the usual routines, no? Like waking up, eating, snacks, lunch, breakfast, lunch, supper, snacks, and then play, and then engaging them with interactive games or interactive activities, and then learning by allowing them to play with what we call educational toys, simply telling them to arrange blocks, and by that they can already learn how to count, or sorting out colors, and by that they will be able to identify or to have a better mastery of the shapes, and then alphabet, numbers, letters, and so on. But as I have mentioned, there should always be time for rest, for breaks in between, for watching and tinkering with gadgets or iPads, and even allowing them actually to get in touch with friends with online, face-to-face or chatting, video chatting, and of course, bedtime. During bedtime, you have to do the usual thing, bedtime stories, and so on.
It's so important, Doc, that you keep mentioning there should still be a routine when it comes to family time.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we cannot get out of our houses, but at least inside the house, we can still have that same routine and still kind of feel like we're going through the same things with our children.
Yes, that's right.
And it's so important, mommies, to still keep your children properly engaged, properly groomed, just to, the everyday that the kids used to go through before, let's try to still keep that routine until now. And that's why Johnson's really advocates the importance of instilling proper hygiene, proper grooming in kids, regardless if they're only staying indoors and nobody's allowed to be outside. It's still important to keep that routine and that proper hygiene even at this time. So, Doc, these are questions naman that I have from you for mommies on overall development. With over a month into ECQ, moms have tried and tested numerous activities with their kids at home, especially now that their kids are not in school. So one question from a mom is, since the kids are just stuck at home, we often give them toys to play with or even home activities. However, they still prefer to watch TV instead or use their gadgets. Will this have an effect in their overall growth development?
Well, as we all know, this is something that we cannot avoid at this point. But I think you can utilize the gadgets and even the television by by encouraging them to watch educational things. Like even the alphabet you can learn from from using your gadgets, right? And then the other thing is it can also help in improving their social skills, because that is one of our problems now through what I have mentioned, video chatting or face-to-face, like what we're doing now.
Yes,
teleconferencing. But the thing though that parents should remember is they should still instill to these children the importance of limiting the time of the use of these gadgets and even watching TV, because we know that there are disadvantages to too much of use of gadgets. One of which is the physical. The physical fitness or activities of these children who are always on gadgets are limited, and that is not good to their health. Number two, it can strain the muscles, it can strain the eyes, and it can also affect the concentration or attention span of children. There are studies to prove that already.
So there are a few negative effects, but of course, there are still ways para maging positive naman yung pag-watch or paggamit ng gadgets ng mga bata. I'm sure ang daming mga videos out there na talagang mas educational rather than just nonsense that, our kids can be watching right now. Right. Okay, thanks, Doc, for that. We have another question naman po about children watching TV. I've noticed that my kids have preferred watching TV over other activities. Can you suggest other home activities na makakapagpalakas din ng resistensya niya?
When we talk about body resistance, napaka-crucial dyan ang nutrition. Good nutrition. And then number 2, physical activities, exercise, which I'm guilty of. And then number 3 is that you have to have a good night's sleep. And if you have a loving, caring, and stimulating environment, there will be less stress. So, should be, di natin kasi masabi ngayon na stress-free eh, di ba?
Yeah.
Minimal stress, okay?
Just a little bit. Maybe the stress, within the home po, wala masyadong stress sana dapat.
Yes.
So mga mommies, you heard it from Doc. Your kids need exercise the same way you do. Maybe you can make that part of your bonding session. You can schedule 20 minutes. You can work out in 20 minutes as well. It's really important to keep the heart rate up and keep your children, allow them to sweat out the toxins and just have a good time. Johnson's really does advocate for playtime, like we said earlier, among parents and kids, even at home. I'm pretty sure that there is a small space at home that you all can enjoy a little bit of physical fitness with your children.
Yeah.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much. We have a next question naman po. Ito, about you mentioned sleeping time and how yung sobrang important po talaga ng sleeping properly. So, ang question po is, my kids are sleeping later than usual and in effect, get up later in the morning. Should this really be a concern now in terms of their development? Should I remove nap time in the afternoon so they can sleep earlier at night?
Yeah, parents should always remember that sleep is very important in the overall development of children. And they should also know kung ilang oras ba dapat ang itinutulog ng isang bata for this particular age, right? So, ang isang technique dyan is that if the mother or if the parent comes up with a schedule for the day, that should include the time for sleep. So, pag yan ay naipakita ng nanay sa anak niya, and they will follow that, it becomes a regular thing. However, kung nagkakaroon pa rin ng problema sa pagtulog, you should note, ano kaya ang dahilan? Hindi kaya kasi may TV sa loob ng kwarto, may mga distractions, o di kaya sobrang napagod siya for the day. You know, when you're so tired, hindi ka rin agad makakatulog.
That's true.
Now, regarding nap time, it is still advisable, but you need to limit it to around 2 to 3 hours lang na hindi masyadong magkadikit sa sleeping time niya sa gabi.
That's so true, Doc. Kasi as adults rather, 'di ba, nap time for kids is so important kasi pag masyado silang gising na, hindi sila talaga matutulog sa gabi.
Right. Tapos yung bedtime routines, yung binabasahan mo yung anak mo, minamasahe mo, sinusuklay mo siya, that would help.
I think that it's such a good idea to maybe build a great bedtime routine now that the parents have more time at night with their children. Kasi I'm sure some mommies and daddies out there, they come home late from work, hindi masyadong nagkaka-time dahil nga it's bedtime na for the children. So at least this is a great time for them to build that routine, Doc, that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, last question for the questions that the mommies have sent in earlier, and then we're going to go through our Q&A. Are you seeing any potential long-term impacts in this situation that this situation will bring? As a mom or a dad, how do I help my kids and family cope with the after effects post-COVID-19?
Yeah, I think the fact that in the situation that we are in, wherein children become isolated in their homes, and that even inside the house, parang you have to practice social distancing, di ba?
Yes.
And so what is being projected as a possible problem is the social skill deficit that will be happening to our children. Magkakaroon tayo ng problema sa social skills nila balang araw, lalong-lalo na kung ito ay tatagal pa. So ano na naman ang dapat na pwedeng gawin ng parents to prevent, or if not, hindi sana ito mangyari, di ba? Unang-una, yung sinabi na naman natin na kailangan ng parents magbigay ng attention sa kanilang mga anak and engage them in activities that will promote social skills. As simple as interactive games. Kahit naman sa isang maliit lang na lugar sa bahay, pwede namang maglaro ang magkakapatid, ang magulang at yung anak. So isa yon. Pangalawa, yun nga, yung nabanggit ko rin na bigyan natin sila ng oras na makipag-connect sa kanilang mga classmates, sa kanilang mga kamag-anak through this media. Or medium, di ba? Social media. And then, exercise is important kasi alam mo ba, pag nag-exercise ka, medyo yung equilibrium ng katawan mo nababago to a certain extent na nagkakaroon ka ng mas magandang pananaw sa nangyayari sa mundo, at saka that is the time for you also to get in touch more with people around you kasi maganda yung mood mo maganda yung well-being mo So you tend to communicate with people around you.
And Doc, it's so important that, as we always talk about the well-being of ourselves so that we can be better people, but we also have to really consider that the kids also, they're going through things that maybe they cannot explain.
Yes.
So at least to make it a safe environment at home para po maging mas normal. Kasi nga po, new normal. So,
yes.
Ang galing, Doc, kasi, the kids, hindi naman sila talaga nagbe-video call with their classmates dati before this. Pero now, it could be a way for them to interact and could even help in their growth and development.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, that is it for the set questions, but we have a lot of Q&As from the mommies that are tuned in right now. One of the mommies tuned in is Mommy Bianca Gonzalez. Hi!
Wow, Bianca!
Yes, and Doc, she has a question for you.
Yes.
So she asks, Doc, what are your thoughts naman po on the school year inevitably getting postponed? So delayed na po ba sa school ang mga bata? Does this have an effect on their learning?
Alam nyo, there's such a thing now as homeschooling, no? Pero in the strictest sense, you as parents can provide the activities that your child is supposed to be learning at this particular age. So it all boils down again to parents being the educators now for their children. So, but you need to be guided by ano ba dapat ang ituturo ko sa anak ko at this particular age, no? So, napaka-importante yung kaalaman ng parents sa tinatawag na developmentally age-appropriate, yung akma na ituturo sa anak ko. So, example na lang, 3-year-old, ano ba dapat ang nalalaman na ng isang 3 taon, di ba? Marunong na dapat siyang humawak ng lapis at mag-drawing ng circle, di ba? Kailangan na rin niyang, marunong na din dapat siyang magsalita in a complete sentence. Marunong na din dapat siyang pumunta sa CR at magwiwi on his own. So, yun yung mga basic things na hindi mo kailangan talaga ng libro para ituro yon. But as you go up the age of the child, again, there are expectations or norms for this particular children, and that is where the parent will get, ideas on how to teach the child. Ano dapat ang alam na ng anak ko at this point?
So, Doc, the delay in the school, does it necessarily, it cannot translate?
Yes. It doesn't necessarily delay your child for as long as you are guided by what to teach them, no, according to what is expected of them at this particular age.
And it's wonderful, Doc, because, as moms and dads, you know how your child is able to learn. We know that children learn in different ways, in different avenues. So at least as parents, mas malalaman nila kung ano yung talagang tama or mas okay na way na matuto yung mga anak nila in these developmental stages.
Yung style ng anak nila, yeah. You go also with the flow of your child. Yes.
Okay, Doc. We also have we have a few questions actually for the live Q&A. Mommies and daddies, keep commenting your questions for Doc Josie today. She will be answering all these questions about, of course, protecting the mental health of your kids and the overall development of the child. Number 2 question, Doc. How do you deal with kids with special needs during COVID? What can a child with ADD, ADHD, or cognitive delay do best at this time?
Alam nyo, this is the period that really these children are need you most, no? Kasi it used to be that these children they go to therapies and they are being taught in special schools. Pero hindi na pwede ngayon, di ba? So, as a parent, you take off from, kunwari, nung nag-aaral pa siya, pupunta siya sa school or nung nagte-therapy siya, may notebook yun na kung saan isinusulat ng therapist or yung teachers kung ano dapat yung day-to-day activities na gagawin para sa disabled child na ito. So, that is one thing that they can adapt. Or, number 2 is, ano ba talaga ang pinaka-problema ko sa anak ko ngayon na may special needs? Katulad ng nasabi mo, yung ADHD. Ang problema ng ADHD, hindi yan mapakali. At walang pasensya. Kung minsan, nakakasakit pa siya sa mga kapatid niya. Kasi ganun talaga ang ADHD. Impulsive, hyperactive, inattentive. So, ang number 1 dyan is, keep him busy. Keep him busy. Pagurin mo rin siya. Involve him into a lot of physical activities which magagawa mo yan, utus-utusan mo siya sa mga household chores, di ba? O di kaya, tawag dito, meron siyang nakaalat na time for exercise and then a little of learning. Hindi mo pwedeng bigay sa kanya yung lesson ng tuloy-tuloy. Hindi kakayanin kasi yung attention span niya is very short. So, you have to do it that way.
It's so, I think, calming, Doc, that, there are ways that they will be able to deal with what is happening with them, most especially if their kids have special needs. I mean, it's true that yung notebook nga, Doc, I'm sure na marami silang matututunan dun sa mga ginagawa nila. They can just apply it in their home, in their home life. Okay, so Doc, our next question is, my daughter just turned 8 and is an only child. She has been vocal on missing her friends, her cousins, and sometimes wishes she has siblings. How can we help her cope?
I think we have already addressed that earlier on, diba? Yung the parents spending time with her, but at the same time, she can connect with friends through social media. Yes.
I think, Doc, it's very important that the connection on mga video calls with kids, amongst kids and, their friends as well, it's going to be really something that parents will have to be doing now so that may connection.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, our next question, this one naman po has something to do with the gadgets. Kasi, Doc, sabi mo, it's okay naman po to deal or to give your kids the gadgets. But the question po from the mommy is, how many minutes is it okay? How many minutes should they have for gadget time?
Well, ideally talaga, ang nire-recommend is 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day, but you can divide it like, throughout the day, or 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon. Diba? So that is the recommendation for children.
Recommended 2 hours a day, moms and dads.
But for special children with special needs, 1 hour.
1 hour. All right. Noted. And, you can spread it around the whole day. Maybe 10 minutes per hour, ganon, just to keep them entertained. Okay. Doc, next question naman po from a mommy that's asking, as much as I love it that I see my kids every day, it's tougher pala to manage work and being a mom, literally at the same time. They are at the stage that they demand my attention 24/7. Any tips to help manage this without feeling guilty?
See? So congratulations, mommy. You know how to do time management. Right.
So, yung question po niya, Doc, is as much as they see their kids every day, it's very tough to manage work and being a mom.
Well,
So
that is understandable, but I think it's a matter of how you view it. You always have to take into consideration that yes, you need to work, but at the same time, you also have to spend time with your kid to play with them, to educate them. So that is the challenge that you have to take upon yourself. And if you are good in doing that, in facing that, then I must say congratulations, mommy.
oh, congrats, moms. And I think we have to congratulate, Doc, all the moms and dads who are stuck or at home with their kids that are not used to it, because this is really a challenge for everybody.
Yeah.
But, Doc, it's easy for parents to feel guilty about feeling bad when their kids need their attention. What do you advise to these parents?
Yeah, that's true. But then, you will, if your child really verbalizes to you that, look, mommy, you're not giving any form of attention to me, then I think it is but normal for parents to feel guilty. But at the same time, she should act, Sinabi na ng anak niya, no? So you also have to learn from the cues of your children. If you see your child to be contented, happy, I don't think that you're missing out on doing something for your child.
That's so true, Doc. And again, to have enough quality time with your kids, Doc recommends having that routine, setting aside time, and sticking to it. Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully, we have no more guilty moms and dads out there, because for sure you are doing your absolute best despite what is happening around us. So we hope for a lot of positivity during this time of the rest of the ECQ. Doc, we have other questions here. We talked about homeschooling earlier. So the question, Doc, is, are there online homeschooling courses I can use or subscribe my child to ensure his education will not be hampered by the ECQ?
Well, there are a lot that you can look at. Actually, you just have to Google it. And you can see there, what are the learning activities that I need to give for my child who is from 0 to 1, 1 to 3 years old, 3 to 6. There are so many, really. Yes.
And these are the ones that you recommend talaga. Like, I think for learning, it's best to really consult something that has, per age talaga.
Yeah, most of these learning activities actually are made by health professionals who are really into looking at the development and behavior of children.
And of course, Doc Josie said that these homeschooling activities, these are going to be your best friend in this quarantine.
Yes, at this point, yeah. And you are the best teachers as parents now.
You really
whether you like it or not. So
you really are
the best.
Yes. Absolutely. You really are going to be the best teachers, and the only teachers for your children at this point. But always consult. There are a lot of online websites that you can check. Also, there's online doctors that you can communicate with. There's also telemed that you can talk to, because I'm sure, Doc, they're worried that they can't really talk to their pedias and their doctors at this time.
At this point, there are a lot now who are doing teleconsults.
Doc, question number 7 naman po. Doc, I have a son turning 4 years old na po, pero bulol pa rin. Is this normal? Pero marunong daw po siya at nakakaintindi. He also knows the alphabet, numbers, and some colors. Speech lang po ang may problema. What can I do?
All right. Of course, this child would require further assessment or evaluation. But based on what she has mentioned, she's pertaining to articulation, pronunciation. So it says in the books or in theory, a child at 4 years old should be 100% articulate or klaro na, wala nang pagkabulol ang pananalita niya by 4 years old. Ngayon, it can extend up to 6 years of age. But then, ang isa natin kasing pinoproblema sa bulol is that it can be a factor that would really affect the self-esteem also of a child. Lalo na kung pumapasok yan or meron siyang nakakasamang ibang bata, pwede siyang tuksuhin. And that is the reason why we need to really refer him for speech therapy to improve the articulation or correct the articulation problem.
That's true, Doc. No, even if it's an articulation problem, it could have, mental effects on him if he's going to school already. Tapos bakas. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so hopefully we answered your question, Mommy. We have one more here, Doc. I have a 1 year and 6 month old baby. Every time we study or play, hindi po siya responsive sa akin. Ano po ba dapat ang gawin ko to get my child's attention?
Question, are you an effective teacher, Mommy? Okay. Number 2, kasi we have to consider, kung hindi interesado yung anak ko, there are so many factors. Number 1, gutom ba siya? Inaantok ba siya? O di kaya pagod siya? Pangalawa, paano yung environment ko? Mainit ba? Alam mo yon? Pangatlo, baka brinake mo yung routine. Number 4, baka ikaw yung authoritative pero na ipino-force mo sa anak mo na ipagawa lahat at one time yung tinuturo mo. So, you have to be creative, innovative para maging enjoyable yung kanyang pag-aaral at the same time yung pagtuturo mo. In other words, learning should be fun. And if that is the case, definitely, if he is enjoying what you're teaching, then everything will be in place.
There you go. Enjoyment, enjoying the teaching or the learning is the most important thing to get your kids' attention. We are encouraging a lot of different ways. And alam namin, mommies and daddies, you are going to be super creative as well when it comes to you entertaining your children at this ECQ time. Okay, Doc, we have another question here. My daughter is 9 years old and she is just not a reader. Is it already too late for her to love reading?
Okay. Ang red flags or warning signs that there seems to be a difficulty in reading in a child is as early as 5 years of age. Diba? Most of the time, children go to school at 3-4 years of age. So that when they reach the age of 5, dapat may mastery na sila ng letters of the alphabet as well as numbers. So if you notice na parang hirap pa siyang ma-recall or mabasa itong mga letra, yun na actually yung early signs ng learning disability or reading disability, otherwise known as dyslexia. Mm-hmm. So in that particular case of a 9-year-old na hirap pa magbasa, kailangan talaga siyang matignan para matulungan siya. Yes.
So very important to know really why the daughter is not a reader. Maybe there's a deeper meaning as to why ayaw niya talaga magbasa. Yes. Okay, Doc. Very important. Next question, Doc. We have a bunch. Ang dami, Doc. Nagtatanong talaga sila. Because it's a very hot topic yung mga mental health ng children, lalo na ngayon na talagang unbelievable yung nangyayari sa mundo. Ito po, Doc. Next question is, are children at higher risk during this health crisis?
In what way? Higher risk in terms of mental health problems, higher risk in terms of learning difficulties. It depends, no? Because as I have mentioned, if we are able as parents provide what they need to address those areas, learning and even the emotional aspect, I don't see the problem of being, mentally having mental difficulties or even learning difficulties at that.
Okay, there we go. And as we've been mentioning earlier, this is really the time for mommies and daddies to be the top teachers at their homes. Okay, Doc, our next question. Since ECQ naman po tayo, Doc, hindi maiiwasan ang magkainisan o mag-away ang mga mag-asawa. What is the bad effect to the kids to see their parents arguing?
Ang aking advice dyan is, you know that there are negative effects. to children when they see their parents quarrel or argue in front of them. So you have to minimize, if not, wag na lang. Doon na lang kayo sa kwarto, doon kayo sa banyo, wag sa harapan ng mga anak ninyo. Kasi hindi mabuting ehemplo at the same time, it's not a good model for their children to see you quarreling in front of them.
That's true, Doc. I remember our docs from the last School of Gentle sessions. They really said na children will mimic or they will copy what they see. So very, very crucial that sana it's still a peaceful environment at home. Okay, Doc, we have another question here for you. Is it true that if we pressure kids eating their meal, it will affect the mental and growth development?
Anything that you do to a child that will pressure him, this child will the more develop resentment or negative attitude towards it. That is the dictum.
Parang, Doc, nag-a-apply rin siya as adults.
Yes, di ba? Lalo mong kinokontra. Di ba?
Yes.
Pag pinipilit yung ayaw mo.
So, at least noted na from a very young age, dapat talaga hindi pinipilit masyado. No negative pressure. Yes. Oo. Alam ko, Doc, kasi pag bata, tas ayaw kainin yung mga masustansya na pagkain, tapos pipilitan, mas lalong ayaw.
Kaya dapat dyan pumapasok yung kagalingan ng parents gumawa ng paraan para magugustuhan ng bata yung pinapagawa mo. Kaya you have to be innovative and creative.
Very true, Doc. Moms and dads, you were young once. You knew what it felt like to be forced to eat something you don't like. So it is your chance now to find a way.
You have to be a good role model. Huwag mong pipilitin yung anak mong kumain ng ampalaya na ayaw mo din naman. Di ba?
That's very true.
Modeling, yes.
You can eat it, they can eat it, we can all eat it. All right, Doc, another question. 1 month into ECQ, activities have become repetitive and a routine. Eat, sleep, play. How do I ensure my 3-year-old's development will still be enriched in his formative years, even if we are on a routine? Paano ko masasabi na sobra na po yung routine?
Alam mo, makukuha mo yung cue na yan sa bata. Baka ikaw yung napapagod na. Pero yung bata hindi naman, di ba? So, you just have to look at how the child is, is accepting everything that you're teaching him or asking him to do. And if you feel na parang sawa na siya or bored na siya, then you have to devise ways to distract him or to do something else na hindi yung common. So you have to make sure that every day there is something na medyo naiiba naman. And then pwede mong balikan yan after maybe a week again. Ganon.
Yeah, Doc, you mentioned that routine is really important. Pero pag repetitive na po, baka yung parents lang yung nabobore. Pero yung...
Na-stress out na siya.
Baka naman po yung bata, enjoy na enjoy pa siya yung routine.
Exactly.
Okay, that is something to think about, moms and dads, because as adults, maybe we are getting bored with the routine, but the kids, anything excites the children. Yeah. So number 14, Doc, or next question po. Hello, Doc, my son is 3 years old and he is attending occupational and speech therapist. Pero dahil quarantine po almost 1 month, mahigit na siyang hindi nakakapag-therapy. Is it possible po ba na mag-regress ang progress ng anak ko?
Well, there is always that possibility kasi nga wala na yung dating na ibibigay sa kanya na regular therapist. But as I've mentioned earlier, if you as a parent will be able to more or less simulate or do what the therapist used to do or to help your child, katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, most of these children with special needs, meron silang mga notebooks na sinusulatan ng therapist. So more or less, you take a look at it, you pattern what you are doing to your child and do it every day. And I'm sure if you are doing that, hindi siya dapat mag-regress. Hindi dapat.
True, Doc. They just have to really make sure na at least there's a little bit, maybe it's not as great as the occupational therapist, but there's still something going on.
Yeah.
Very important. Again, as we mentioned, it's very important to really check online for a lot of different ideas that other moms and dads and other professionals as well have provided for moms and dads during this ECQ. Doc said you can Google, it's all there. You can also make sure
all other parents. And there are also some therapists who are very much willing to communicate or, to talk to them. So there are a lot of ways, really. It's
very
the most important thing is the time that the parent can spare to make it happen.
Yeah, very important, Doc. Like, it's so true that, even when parents can have their own discussions, their own forums, their own groups, that they can help each other when it comes to these things as well.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, we have a few more questions here. Doc, I have 4 kids, all boys. Yung eldest ko, 9 years old. Second, 6 years old. Madalas sila mag-away. I know it's normal, pero paano po ba ang tamang approach para hindi nila ma-feel na may favoritism sa kanila? Talagang sumasakit ulo ko kakasaway sa kanila.
Number 1 talaga dyan is bigyan mo sila ng pagkakabisihan. That's 1. Number 2, since nafe-feel ng isang anak mo na mas paborito mo yung isa, if you are probably doing a favor for your son who is your favorite, you also have to include your other son, di ba? Kasi para malaman niya na, ay, parehas pala kami na pinapansin ng mommy ko, di ba? So, that's it. But the most important thing really is keep them busy or separate them. Nasa isang kwarto yung isa, nasa sala yung isa. So there are a lot of ways.
It's true, Doc. It's if you don't want them to fight, maybe they just shouldn't be in the same room. Separate na lang po. And of course, we would not want sakit sa ulo sa mga moms and dads ngayon, considering ECQ and we don't have anywhere to go.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, next question po is, how does a child's gender impact mental health issues?
I'm not very sure about what you mean by that, but are you talking about either a lesbian or a homosexual impacting on mental issues? I don't think there really should be a problem with that for as long as the child is comfortable with who he is. I think the problem is more for the parents who cannot accept what the gender of their child is. I mean, actually in my practice, parents come to me because they're having a problem with their son who seemingly is going to the lesbian or to the gay identity.
And it just really has to do with them talking up.
And therefore, what happens is that if the parents would tend to force their child to be the boy rather than what he wants otherwise, then that is the time that there will be problems in the behavior or the development of the child.
Okay, noted, Doc. Yes, very true. Number 17, Doc, question right here. Hi, Doc. My eldest is 6 years old, breastfed until 3 years old. And until now, we are still co-sleeping. I tried to tell her that she should move to her own room, but she always refuses. Is it okay? And how is the best way to tell her?
As in other countries or in most of the time, as early as 2 years of age or even 1 year of age, for that matter, we have to encourage our children to be sleeping in a separate room from their parents, right? And the best way to do that is to do it gradually. And couple that, it is a matter of behavior therapy. Parang, sige anak ha, kailangan na talaga na dapat may sarili ka ng kwarto kasi malaki ka na. Tapos, ganito ang gagawin natin. Sa umpisa, si mami nandyan muna sa tabi mo, pero pag nakatulog ka na, ay dahan-dahan na aalis na si mami kasi I am naman sure that you are in a safe place. Andito lang kami sa kabilang kwarto. So all these kinds of techniques can, help parents in gradually separating their child, co-sleeping with them. And then coupled with reward system. And at the same time, sabihin mo sa anak mo na, anak, malaki ka na. Hindi ka na dapat natutulog with us ng daddy mo. Oh. And that will also, you have to boost yung bata na malaki ka na, you are independent na, di ba? Grown up ka na, and so therefore, hindi ka na dapat nakikitulog sa amin.
There you go. As much as I know it's difficult for some moms and dads to let go or have their children sleep
Baka
apart.
Baka nga yung mommy at daddy ang hindi maka-let go.
Very true. Yes. But it has positive or benefits po talaga. Kailangan talaga encourage na sa kabilang or sa separate bed na po talaga matulog ang bata.
Oo. Alam naman natin kung bakit. Diba?
Okay. Okay. Noted, Doc. So, Doc, here's another question. What is your opinion po, Doc, about spanking as a form of discipline?
In this day and age, it is not encouraged anymore ang physical or corporal punishments for children because studies have shown na lalong nagkakaroon ito ng long-time behavioral or psychological, socio-emotional effects sa mga bata. Because if they see you do that, it simply means na the message is clear. Oh, pwede naman palang gayahin yan at gawin ko rin sa iba. Kasi ginagawa yan ng parents ko. You know, children are very good in imitating. And that is the reason why we always tell parents, be a good role model to your children.
Very important.
It's no good.
No to spanking. If there's another way for you to discipline your children, here, as this ECQ have done. Doc, what would you recommend?
Better would be as I've mentioned, the reward and punishment thing. The punishment can be in the form of grounding, depriving your child of what is his favorite activity, and the timeouts.
Moreover, there are a lot of different avenues that you can try, the timeouts, the reward and punishment system that are more, that will help rather in the development of the child, more than spanking.
Yes.
Okay, noted, Doc. So next question, my son doesn't want to go to school anymore. Oh no, how to deal with this once the lockdown is lifted?
I think maybe because parang asarap pala ng buhay ng estudyante na nasa loob lang ng bahay. I'm sure there are a lot of children who have that kind of thinking right now. But again, when the lockdown is off and we are back to the so-called new normal, we still have to encourage our children to go back to school because of the fact that there are really a lot of advantages of going to school. Meeting friends, diba? A new environment, diba? So,
yes,
importante lang sa parents to educate their child of the advantages of going back to school.
I think that the child probably loves staying home, but it's also so much fun to be in school with your friends. Baka kailangan lang niya ma-remind.
Yes, we have to tell them again that, yeah.
Doc, we are down to our last question, but before I ask this question, want to say hi to all the mommies and daddies tuned in to the Johnson School of Life. We also have our Johnson's Baby Ambassador, Divine Lee. Mommy Divinely is tuned in. She hosted she will host rather, another Johnson School of Gentle as well. So hi, thank you for tuning in. Doc, we have one more question for you. This one is, my daughter always feels hungry even after eating several servings already. Is she stress eating? How can I talk to my child to see if it is stress induced?
Okay. Unang-una, pag kain ng kain yung bata is because of the fact siguro na readily available lang dyan. So, tanggalin mo dyan sa paligid niya yung mga pagkain na nakakalat. Pangalawa, baka masyado siyang napapagod, di ba? Pero, to address that is more of scheduling lang siguro yung right time to eat and the right amount to eat, no? So, and then you model that again. Okay, anak, breakfast tayo ngayon. Your snacks would come in at this particular time. and ito yung kakainin natin, ito yung portion lang, and then you have to, the parent should also tell the child the disadvantages of eating too much, that this might lead to obesity and so on, and all of the negative things that go with it.
Thanks, Doc, for that. Very true. And maybe if you're wondering if the child is stressed, as Doc mentioned, it's very important that it comes from the child themselves, how they feel. So maybe in the 20 minutes that you set aside with your children, have that conversation kung kamusta naman sila. You know, it is a difficult situation that we have today, but as Doc mentioned, it's very important to open that communication and that bonding time with your children. Okay, Doc, that was your last question for the day. Ang dami-dami na.
Okay, thank you.
Ang dami-dami po nating mga tanong for you and nasagot nyo naman po lahat. Thank you so much for being here with us today. That ends our Johnson School of Gentle session. And thank you to all the mommies out there and the daddies who've stayed with us until the end of the program. Doc Josie, do you have anything else that you'd like to say to our viewers?
Well, I think we just have to remember na itong nangyayari sa atin ngayon has really brought a lot of changes and challenges, both for the parents and the children. And in fact, it has causing a lot of fears and anxiety, both for the parents and the children as well. But as parents, ang aking masasabi lang is that if our children really feel that they are protected, they are loved, and they are safe, I think everything will be in place and everything will go well.
Doc Josie, that was beautiful. I felt that so much. And I'm so sure that the mommies and daddies out there who are very anxious and worried, I'm sure that they also felt that calm with what you just said. Thank you so much, Doc Josie, for helping us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, Doc, hopefully we'll see you again.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
And we hope moms and dads that are tuned in until now, thank you once again for joining us. We hope that together with Johnson's Baby, we were able to share some valuable information to help ease your worries during this time. Watch out for more Johnson School of Gentle sessions where we or Johnson's Baby will share more advice from our experts. We will have mommy vloggers as well as guests next time to help us on new ideas of playing with your kids and also how we can make grooming time fun and enjoyable. Both sessions will be brought to you by Johnson's Baby Powder and Johnson's Active Kids Shampoo. And while you are here, do follow Johnson's Baby on Facebook and Instagram to know more about caring babies for your babies and your kids. We hope that you enjoyed today's Johnson School of Gentle session about protecting the mental health of your kids and ensuring the developmental growth of your child. I learned a lot. Hopefully you guys did too. And we're so excited for the next sessions. Thank you, everyone. My name is Kat Sala once again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good evening.
Don't stop, tuloy ang laro. Johnson sa bawat ligo.
Don't stop, tuloy ang laro. Sa Johnson's